Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Spider-Man Far From Home. That's right everyone, we have finally made it to the last Spider-Man movie before No Way Home. Now I rewatched this movie yesterday, but I realized I had to sleep on it a little bit. And I realized my opinions on this movie are pretty much the same as they were when this first came out. So this movie came out after Infinity War and Endgame, and it was really sweet, touching on that briefly. It was really sweet to watch Spider-Man in the MCU with MCU characters, with the Avengers, fighting Thanos. That was all pretty awesome. And him with the Iron Spider, pretty much my favorite costume of the Spider-Man franchise so far. I really enjoyed this movie after it came out. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first half of this movie I don't really care too much about. I don't care for the school trip. It makes for some good cinematography, and it makes for some good images abroad and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I don't really care for it as much as seeing Spider-Man swing around in New York City. The relationship between Ned and Betty Brant, do not care about. Simple as that. The relationship that Happy and Aunt May kind of play with in this movie, it's a little bit more entertaining than that was. Peter and MJ, their scenes were really sweet together. I thought that they were really good in this movie. I thought Zendaya was cute in this role. I thought Tom Holland was great in this role, trying to get this girl that he likes. I mean, you have to remember, this takes place about 8 months after Endgame. So they had some leeway there where they could say, yeah, Peter fell for MJ sometime in those 8 months. One thing I really like about these Spider-Man movies is the versatility of the web shooters. I really like the different types of web shooters that they use throughout these two films. Now I gotta talk about Mysterio's inclusion in this film. I've been waiting to see Mysterio, like so many other people, on the big screen for years. And honestly, I don't think this movie disappointed. The first scene with all the illusions when he's really kicking Peter Parker / Spider-Man's ass, I really like that scene. It's honestly probably my favorite scene of the entire movie, actually. I love the illusions that they give. The CGI looks great. Everything about that scene, to me, looks perfect for a Mysterio fight scene. Or should I say, a fight scene with Mysterio kicking the shit out of someone because of all the illusions they have. I will say this about the first half of the movie. The action does start faster than I would have expected it to be honest. I forgot, it only takes about 20 minutes for the first real fight scene to happen in this. Now, it's Mysterio pretending to be a hero, and he's not a bad guy yet. So it's the impact of those fights isn't as big to me, but at least there's still something going on. If the first half was more so just this trip and it was just the high school movie that it really was, it felt like for the first half of this movie, I probably would have been a lot more bored during it. But no, I thought the action scenes with Mysterio before he turns bad were really good. But Mysterio's costume was one that I always wanted to see how they would translate to the big screen, and honestly, I really like the way it looks. But I do really like the fact that Spider-Man just really wants to enjoy this summer trip, and he doesn't want to be a superhero for once. I do like the fact that they set up that dilemma, so that way when Quentin Beck is being friends with Peter, he feels so confident they could just give him these glasses. Now, I do think that was a dumb decision on his part to make, but obviously that's the point. But I understand why. He really just wanted to enjoy the summer trip, especially after everything that happened with an Infinity War and Endgame especially. I mean, they really, for parts of this movie, they do shove it down your throat as to, you know, Tony Stark being dead and all. I mean, it was 2019, it's 2021 now, but I do like the fact that this movie did do that. I do like the fact that he's just an everyday kid with everyday problems, and this movie did illustrate that, just in a different way. I still just don't really care for that first half, though. For me personally, it's really when Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, reveals himself. It's really for me when that part on that I barely have any problems with the movie. At that point, whenever it goes back to the class, even if it's just setting them up for the next scene, I don't really care for it. Just want to go and just watch the rest of this movie. But hey, the kids have to go see an opera show, so I guess I can't really complain. However, I will say now that it actually does not feel like a Spider-Man movie until you see Spider-Man swinging around in New York City, because there's never a point where he does that. He's always using his webs, or he's always swinging during a fight scene, which I'm not complaining at all, of course. But I'm saying that is a detail that I noticed. To me personally, I think the final battle of this movie is actually better than Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 final battles. That's just me personally, if we're talking about the order of which they were released. I really enjoy watching Spider-Man swinging around trying to avoid all of these drones and getting shot. And eventually his suit is on fire, and I like that he is able to swing in water to put out the fire. I like that detail. I like the fact that it's not even really a fight with Mysterio until the very end when he uses his Peter Tingle, which I find it kind of funny that it felt like they were trolling audiences by calling it Peter Tingle because of the whole Homecoming not really having Spider-Sense, but they absolutely included it in this movie. I really like the scene when he's in, I'm going to call it the hall, on that bridge, and he's fighting all the drones, and he's like, God, Peter Tingle. That whole sequence I thought was awesome. Like, honestly, that was more intense to me than Homecoming. It was way more exciting than Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 3, even though there's some elements of that final battle that I do enjoy, I don't enjoy all of it. I thought that the ending of this was perfectly good for the Mysterio Spider-Man movie that they created. And I, for one, just really like this moment.
You got me?
I gotcha.
Now, I'm actually of the camp that does believe that Mysterio is still alive somehow. We'll see how right we are on that. And of course, I cannot talk about this movie without talking about the mid-credits scene. Holy fuck, I was so happy when J.K. Simmons came back as J. Jonah Jameson. I clapped in the movie theater. I was actually kind of ashamed that I didn't really hear anyone else clap for it, because that was just an amazing moment. I had heard that there was a scene that got people so excited, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, automatically it was that scene. It was obvious. Seeing him back and him going Spider-Man was awesome, and I can't wait to see what he does in this next one. Even if he only shows up a little bit, I don't care. I want to see him as J. Jonah Jameson. I really do. But guys, honestly, those are my opinions on Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't think this is a bad film. I actually don't think this is a bad Spider-Man film. It's really just the first half that I just really don't care about. But the second half for me is pretty exciting. I like watching Mysterio. I like watching his motivation. I love that bar scene. It's over the top and kind of hammy, but I love it regardless. Call me cheesy, but I do. I thought the action that does happen is pretty sweet. I do miss Spider-Man swinging around New York City, and it just feels so warming to see it happen towards the end of the film, or at the end of the film. But I really enjoy this, actually. I still think Homecoming was better. I still personally believe that. I felt it back then, and I still feel it now. But you guys might actually be surprised. I'm actually going to give Spider-Man Far From Home a B+. That's the same grade that I gave Spider-Man Homecoming. I think it's just ever so slightly not as good as Homecoming. I find Homecoming in the high school setting to just be a little bit more investing for me personally. But I've always wanted to travel abroad, and seeing Spider-Man abroad was cool. Not gonna lie. But Spider-Man belongs in New York City. But yes, so B+ is the same grade I gave Spider-Man Homecoming. I will be giving this movie a B+ as well. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I know I'm not like a popular YouTuber yet or anything like that, popular YouTuber or anything like that, but I just really wanted to talk about this franchise and hopefully many more in the future. I just really wanted to talk about this franchise because, as I said before, it means so much to me. The first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie was the first comic book movie that I ever saw. So, and literally introduced me to comic books as a whole. So this franchise means so much to me, and honestly, it was so fun to finally talk about these movies and to finally rewatch Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I can finally say I've watched all the Spider-Man movies before Spider-Man No Way Home, which of course I'm extremely excited for. I already got my tickets. I'm going to see the second showing on Thursday. We're going to avoid all the spoilers, and I will have my review up as soon as I get out of the movie theater. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Please consider supporting my channel. I would absolutely appreciate it. Subscribe, comment, and like. That absolutely helps the video out. And share it for people who are also Spider-Man or comic book fans as a whole. Guys, once again, thank you very much. Asian